Everyone has a story to tell. It's my mission to tell it. Unscripted, unedited, we are on the record.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarina Fazan. Thank you so much for joining us, the host of On the Record. And I've got to tell you, okay, I am so excited because sitting next to me is JP Peterson, a fan favorite, and my daughter, Sammy. Okay, JP.
You're going to make me blush.
Okay, no, okay, you are such an awesome dude and so knowledgeable when it comes to sports. And Sammy, who's 14 years old, who usually does not, as you know, at that age, they don't care. They don't look at, she's like,
Teenage girl's not my demo,
okay.
but I'll take it. But I'll take it.
Well, she loves the Lightning, and you know we've got to share your history.
Yeah.
She's like, you know JP Peterson, and I'm like, oh, finally, you're taking notice. But JP, all right, so I feel so blessed because this show, I have a lot of viewers, not just in this state. Please tell us a little bit about you.
Well, you mentioned the Tampa Bay Lightning. I do their pregame show and intermission reports in-house on the Jumbotron. I've also done some work for Fox Sports and Fox Sports Sun. So I've been around the Lightning I've been covering sports in Tampa Bay for over 25 years now. So I've been working with the Lightning, but now I work for the Lightning as well. I've done local NBC sports. I've worked for Sunday Night Football. Back when Bob Costas was hosting that and did some sideline work for them. So I've done a lot of things in my career, mostly centered in the state of Florida, but it's been a tremendous ride. But to have Sammy now as my biggest fan, I mean, forget all the Emmys. Now I've arrived. This is it. I got a teenage girl, fan. This is amazing.
Oh my gosh.
I'm breaking new ground.
Well, this is honestly a dream to have you here because when I worked in local news in Tampa before, having this whole thing was amazing. Don't you think the CP Communications Red House streaming
This is all amazing. I just took the tour and the technology that's going on right now in this business, it's insane. It's incredible.
It's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I used to do, I know, you need to turn off your phone.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, you should know, but this is why I love the show.
It's my new demo. It must be my TikTok from the teenage girls. My TikTok's blowing up. Who knew? Already.
Well, you know that I used to love doing what was called the Buccaneer Breakdown.
Yes, I love that. I love that.
Oh my gosh. And so I said to JP a while ago, I said, wouldn't it be great that maybe one day you could join me and do a show like that?
Yeah.
So on the record, I'd like to put it out in the universe. I hope this is not the only show that you do.
Well, I love the Buccaneer Breakdown because it was you, the casual fan, and then a sports guy, John Sable, who's great. But it's a great mix because I think sports now has become part of that. I mean, I think I read the other day that the female demographic is almost 45% of the NFL now.
Wow.
I mean, and women don't, they're smarter than us, obviously, you guys. We get into the stupid X's and O's of it, and I can do all that. But it's, the lifestyle of the players now has become so important and so interesting to people. What they do, the politics has become part of it. It's become, I think, sports and celebrity coverage has all become one now. TMZ has a sports. It's all the same stuff now. So I think the casual fans are coming into sports. So I think a show where we have a casual fan and a guy that you can ask me questions about some of the minutia that you might not understand. I think it's an interesting mix.
I know, because
we got something here.
Yeah, for sure. Because my favorite thing would always be like, all right, if you want to ask a question to your husband or a boyfriend and you want to be cool, give me the question to ask.
Right. Yeah, I can give you all those. I mean, we can do that. Yeah.
Well, we have so much to talk about because, again, I want, and I hope you do come back on the show, but should we start with what's going on with the Buccaneers? Of course, what a game. That was such an amazing game. Or do you think we should talk about the Super Bowl first? Which one do you want to do first?
Well, let's do Super Bowl first because I'm going out to the Super Bowl, and I'm so excited because I'm going to work with one of my idols, Snoop Dogg.
Oh.
That's right. I've been a big fan all my life.
Really?
I've been a huge fan of Snoop Dogg. So the Wounded Warriors is a charity that I've been involved with for a long time.
And thank you for that.
Yeah, I love those guys. BJ Ganem, who's a decorated veteran, amputee, sacrificed so much for this country. He works with Sierra Delta, which provides support dogs, support animals for the troops. Is something near and dear to my heart because I love dogs too. But so they do this Wounded Warrior against NFL alumni game every year, big fundraiser. Snoop Dogg's always been involved, and so it's in his hometown. So he's hosting it in South Central. and I get to MC in some way. I might just be handing over the mic to Snoop Dogg, but I don't care. I'm like, I just tell everybody I'm doing a gig with Snoop Dogg. So, but it's heading out to the Super Bowl, and there's all these ancillary events that happen at Super Bowl that are so fun. And and hopefully I'll come back and bring you the behind the scenes of all this stuff. I'll take some video. Let's do it.
You have to book it. It's on the record that he's coming.
And I'll get and I'll be behind the scenes, and I'll be getting all at FanstreamJP. That's my Twitter at FanstreamJP. If you want to follow me at JP Peterson Sports on Instagram, I'll be having my story up and give you all the behind the scenes stuff that's going on at Super Bowl, the crazy, stupid stuff you won't see anywhere else. So it'll be fun.
Absolutely, 100%. I love it, and I love the fact that also when we talk about the Super Bowl, of course there are so many. It's not just the game, which the game of course is incredible. I lived in New Orleans where the Super Bowl was hosted there several times. Yeah. It is everything about it. Paint that picture, JP. I mean, we saw it here in Tampa, but of course it was COVID during that time.
I've covered, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15 Super Bowls in my career in different aspects, doing different things. But Radio Row is something I've been a big part of. I've done sports radio for 15 years now. And Radio Row is an animal all amongst itself. But just Super Bowl in general has become kind of I don't know if microcosm is the right word, but it's a great example of what I just discussed. The casual fan, the celebrity interest coming together and meeting the NFL. That's where the epicenter kind of is now. And it brings everything together. You think about the commercials, the halftime show, which is going to be awesome with Snoop and Dr. Dre and Kendrick Lamar and Eminem, Mary J. Blige. Can I get in that deal, Snoop?
Yeah, anyway. I know.
I fit right in. I mean, come on.
Can we put that on the record and in the universe? And can I tag along? Can I tag along? I'll bring your.
So think about that.
I'll bring your water.
So think about that Super Bowl show. That's gonna, blow everybody away. I've seen the trailer of that. And you've got all the commercials that go into it. It's pop culture. It's everything. In America that comes together. And of course, it's at SoFi Stadium, which is this incredible new stadium in Los Angeles. The stars are going to be everywhere. It's just crazy. And Radio Row is that it's amazing because they're just bringing people through. Like I was in Dallas a few years ago, and you just sit there at Radio Row, and these PR people bring people through. And it's like, hey, they'll come up to you and they'll talk to your producer and say, hey, would you like Hugh Jackman and Sugar Ray Leonard? I'm like, what? Sure. Sugar Ray Leonard, one of my heroes growing up, and Hugh Jackman is this amazing actor and theater performer, and I love my Broadway musicals. So they sit down with you, and you're just sitting there talking to them like your best buddies, and I'm like, oh, did that just happen?
I know, I love it
Chris
too.
Rock and David Spade show up, and they're like sitting right with you, and you're like, what's up, fellas? And you just Bill Murray, or you start doing Caddyshack lines, which he hates, by the way. Don't ever do that to Bill Murray.
Good tip, thank you. See,
it's a bizarre. You get into places and do things that you never thought you would. You get into certain parties. When the Super Bowl was here in Tampa Bay, they had the big Playboy party, and you're just sitting there, and it's like Hugh Hefner's over here, and this girl you might recognize, and that girl you might recognize. I was married at the time. Did not go over well. So Super Bowl is just all encompassing, and I have no idea what I'm getting up for in LA, but it's going to be crazy.
We can't wait to hear about it. And I know as a news anchor, I also got to cover so many of those events, and because I do love sports as well. Yeah. Speaking of sports, though, so talk about the matchup. I have to say, but I really wanted to see Patrick Mahomes back. I did. I wanted the Chiefs. In that game, and I wanted the 49ers. So both my teams out. Of course, the Buccaneers are my number one, of course. But what do you think of the matchup? You think it's a good matchup?
Well, first of all, Patrick has nobody to blame but himself. Okay, he played terrible in the second half with a 1.4 quarterback rating, and it's a little bizarre. Because now we're getting into a little X's and O's talk here.
But I couldn't believe it. It started out so strong. Yeah. At first you're like, oh gosh, this game is. I don't want it to be. It's going to be a blowout. It's going to be a blowout. But then, what?
Well, it's interesting. I'll draw this comparison with Joe Burrow in a little bit, but Mahomes just became a different quarterback in that second. It was almost like they were trying to hold on to the lead. He was almost trying not to make a mistake. There were guys open that he just wouldn't let the ball go. It was very weird when you went back and look at the tape. It was like, why was he playing so cautiously? And that's not been him.
Why do you think, in all your experience, because I noticed that too, why was he? Was it because of all the pressure from last year and the blowout with the Buccaneers?
You get up in a game, right? And you don't want to be the guy that makes the big mistake. And if you don't make a mistake, chances are you're going to win. And they were kind of in that situation, and I just think he played it a little too safe. And it's a great lesson that I'm sure he will learn. But it was interesting. The guy that didn't play it safe was Joe Burrow. And, everybody you talk to in the league now, everybody's starting to say this about Joe Burrow. This kid's got the it factor. It's the Brady it factor.
It gives me goosebumps.
It gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
And when I saw him play at LSU, I was like, this guy's got something special. You could just see in the way he plays. He never gets rattled. He's been sacked 61 times this year. That's an incredible. He was sacked, 9 times in that game. He doesn't get phased. It doesn't bother him. He just gets right up and he keeps slinging it. He has the leading completion percentage in the NFL, over 70% this year in just his second year. The most accurate passer I think I've ever seen.
I think it's significant that you compared him to Brady.
Yeah, he's got that Joe Cool mentality. And I actually heard Brady on his podcast the other night, his Let's Go podcast. He invited Joe Burrow on his podcast.
Wow.
So that's what he thinks of Joe Burrow. And their demeanors are very similar in that they're very cool and calm, and nothing seems to rattle them while they're in the moment, and that's what it takes in the NFL. You've got to be, it's those guys that everything slows down and they're calm in the moment. They know exactly what they're doing and what they need to do. And that's Brady. He's the greatest to ever do it, and you see those traits in Joe Burrow. I'm not saying he's going to be Tom Brady. Nobody's ever going to reach the numbers that Tom Brady did. It's just not going to happen. But
you really don't think so? Ever in our lifetime, you don't think so?
7 Super Bowls. Playing for 22 years. Because the game has changed. The game has changed to a much more athletic quarterback, and I don't think it'll ever go back to the pocket passing. I mean, this is not to denigrate Tom Brady in any way, but he sits back in the pocket. His effectiveness is not based on his athletic ability to be able to run and take hits and whatnot. He just doesn't take a lot of hits, hasn't, comparatively speaking, over his career. So he's had longevity. He's great from the neck up, and his arm's pretty damn good too. He's one of the most accurate and hasn't lost anything on his fastball. Still throws with the greatest velocity. Now, I'll tell you a quick story about Brady. It was my favorite moment since he's been here in Tampa Bay. And it was in practice. It was in training camp. They were going up against the Titans. And in practice, there was an intensity level that I've never seen. And
really?
And I was literally 15 yards from him because they were doing goal line. He's on the 5-yard line, and I was literally about 2 yards behind the end line. So I was that close. I could see into his eyes, and I could hear him communicating with everybody. And it's Gronk. It's Mike Evans. It's Godwin. It's AB. I mean, I'm looking at maybe 5 Hall of Famers here going up against a good Titans defense. And I'm that close, and I'm watching this whole thing just kind of unravel. And his communication, his ball placement, the accuracy, and I could hear the sizzle of the football when he was throwing it into certain tight windows. And these receivers are the best ever played. And I'm this close to it, and I'm just absorbing everything that he's doing. And he's manipulating people with his eyes. And I felt like I was playing safety. I was that close. And it was unbelievable how he was like a puppeteer. He would manipulate everybody to get the right matchup, to throw it to the right window, and then execute it. I hope my verbalization of that gave it some justice, but to watch it play out in that moment with the intensity, and it was a practice.
And a practice. So I want to stay with that. Typically we go to a break, but I'm telling the crew, this is, again, unedited, unscripted. We're not going to go to a break. We're not going to take a break in this show because I think you're going to the Super Bowl. We're talking football. So, guys, we're just going to keep on going.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay, so let me ask you, before we because I want to talk about the Bengals, too, and the significance of the Bengals. But when we're talking about, since we're bringing up Brady.
Yeah.
So many people have said that the intensity that you explained at his practice, and I have seen it too, I've been blessed to be able to cover many things, that unlike a lot of other players, and again, this is not saying anything negative towards any other players, but Tom Brady takes the practices just as seriously as he takes some of these games, and that is what led maybe to his decision on retirement.
Absolutely, and that's a great point. People don't understand the level of intensity that he operates at during the season. And I saw a lot of people on social media say, well, I mean, so his family is there. It's like, I work long hours, everybody, we come home to our families. We don't see him as much as we would like to. I mean, like, why can't he just keep playing? He's at the top of his game. Why can't he just maybe play one more year? And I think you have to understand how he prepares. Like, he doesn't come home like many of us do and, dinner is there or make it whatever, hang out with the kids for 2 or 3 hours and blah, 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 blah. Not that I'm in his home and know, but this is what I hear about his preparation.
Right, no, but this is significant because
his brain is locked in on the game from the time he's done with one game to the next. He's always thinking about how I can get better. And it obviously, if you have a family and you have kids, that's going to suffer. I mean, that and he wants to be the best dad he can be. He wants to be the best husband he can be. He understands the sacrifice that his kids and his wife go through. So when he comes home and they're like, Dad, can you watch a movie with us? No, I have to watch tape tonight. Well, you watched tape last night. Yeah, I'm watching it tonight. And I'm watching it tomorrow. And I'm going to watch it every moment I have until we come to the next game. I mean, he just is so maniacal about his preparation that he knows he has to be all in. And at this point, as his kids get older, as a father, I understand what those tugs are. I mean, to a much less extent of what he goes through. But working in sports media, odd hours, whatnot, when my kids were young, I felt bad about certain things, and I had much more time to commit than he does. So it's just a level of intensity. It's all in or he's all out. That's what he said in his statement. Is I can't devote with the enthusiasm that I need to do it. For me to play at my level, he understands he's not the best athlete out there. He's the worst athlete out there, except the kickers. And he knows that. So to get that edge, he knows it's got to be a mental edge. He has to know what everybody's doing. And to be able to know that and be that prepared for every game, it takes this just ridiculous level of intensity and preparation.
And absolutely, and also, and I don't want to divulge too much, but you think about the children and you think about his kids, and we all love our children so much, but his celebrity is so huge that I happen to know that, some of those play dates are scheduled, or the families, and you and I don't really have to go into that because we want to respect their privacy.
Right.
But one of my favorite stories favorite sports stories or favorite stories of all time is when Tom Brady was not the first round pick, and he was walking in the tunnel, right? He was walking in the tunnel, and it was Bill Belichick, right? And he shook his hand and he said, "You just made the best decision of your life." I encourage people to search that story, because I always
does not lack for confidence.
Yeah, and I tell my daughter this all the time. There's a difference between being cocky and a difference between being confident, and it doesn't matter if you're a quarterback, an anchor, or you're working in Publix. It's the demeanor that can really build you. But going back to Tom Brady and this decision to retire, that game.
The last game?
Oh my gosh. Oh. I was watching it with the Fournette family, Leonard Fournette's family, blessed to do that. But JP, why, I thought, okay, I realize at some point, you're going to retire. Right. But do you retire like that? Like after you lose a game in the last couple of seconds? I mean, is that what?
And you personally did everything you can do. I mean, he was getting hit. I mean, this Rams, and we can talk about the Rams defensive line. They were all, and the Bucs have one of the best offensive lines. I mean, Brady threw the ball more than anybody during the regular season and got sacked less than anybody. That's how good the offensive line was. But against this Rams pressure, it was relentless. And the Bucs were without their all-pro right tackle, Tristan Wirfs, so that was a huge part of the game. So he got hit a lot, but he kept getting up. He kept getting up, and then he throws a 55-yard touchdown pass. His last touchdown pass to Mike Evans, drops it in the bucket. This perfect throw against the best defensive back in football in Jalen Ramsey. I mean, that's your last touchdown pass. And, of course, Mike Evans throws the ball into the stands. Whoever got that ball.
Oh my God!
Tom Brady's last touchdown.
I know. Please contact us. Yes. Though. That would be really cool to interview you.
Yeah, we want to find out.
Interview you.
Probably laying low.
I was hugging Lori Fournette watching that. Like she's like, this is what they do.
Unbelievable comeback.
Yes.
And then your defense goes out there and makes a couple of questionable plays, and you lose the game. I mean, but that's why I think he took some time to get away from it. And you have to kind of sit back and realize in a calm moment, like, what should I do? And frankly, there was a lot of speculation out there that he had already decided that this was going to be his last year, maybe a month ago, a couple months ago. So I don't think it was a shock to a lot of people. So I think, I think he thoroughly thought that out before to not be affected by those emotions because you shouldn't be.
And you know what? You bring up a really great point, because if you think about Tom Brady, he thinks everything out.
Right,
so why
exactly.
wouldn't he think this out, right?
Yeah, if you think that he waited till that extra day, to finally decide to retire, no. It was clearly planned out well ahead of time, like the rest of his life.
Well, I have to say, I personally, Giselle, I'm telling you, I love you. I think she's great. She's beautiful. Who doesn't love Giselle, right? But a lot of male friends of mine, male sports anchors, said, well, it was the pressure from the wife.
Oh,
and I said,
on.
okay, so that's a girl question that I'm asking you. That's what I said. Oh, come on. I mean, what do you say to that? Because aren't you hearing that? I'm hearing that a lot.
Of course. And, I got to frame this the right way. First of all, I feel a little uncomfortable talking about it because, as you know, if other people talk about your relationship with a husband or a spouse or whatever, they have no idea what they're talking about, even if they're your best friend. It's still
unless you're in the relationship.
So that first and foremost, we shouldn't even be talking about it. We have no idea what's going on in their relationship or what's going on within their families. Maybe somebody's ill. We have no idea.
Yeah, right, exactly.
We have no idea. But that being said, I think a lot of guys will say, "Oh, you're at the top of your game." And I've thought this out loud. I've said it on my show. You're at the top of the game. I want my wife to be supporting me. Like, go out there and do it again. But I don't necessarily think it's from her. It's her expressing her natural feelings. Like, honey, I hate watching you get hit. Like, honey, I hate you getting hurt and coming home and being hurt. And I hate, I love you. I want to be with you. I want to be around you. You're such a great dude. Kind of handsome. So
you think so? Maybe just a little bit.
I mean, but it's his. Like, he feels that too. As a man, you want to respect that. If you have somebody that wants you to be around you so much and cares so much about your well-being. I mean, I wish I had that.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And so from that standpoint, as a man, you're like, I got to honor that, I got to honor that. And it's not just about football. It's about being a husband. It's about being a dad. And I totally get that. So whatever she says to him, it's his decision. And his decision to honor, and maybe that's not even the right word, but as a family, you got to totally respect that.
Totally respect that. And I'm putting it out in the universe. Of course, I want Tom and Giselle on Love in America.
Of course.
I just try to say that as much as I can.
Of course.
So who could we see? Okay, before I ask that question, do you really think he is done?
Yeah, I think he's done.
You think he's done?
Yeah, I think he's done. It's just it's not a start and stop type of thing. I think this was well thought out, well in advance, and I think he's done.
He's done.
Yeah.
Who do you see coming in?
Oh, that's a great question. Now, I mean, your audience may not know this, but I'll just to pat myself on the back.
Yes.
The day after the 2019 season, when Jameis Winston threw his last pick, I came on my show the next day and I said, Tom Brady is going to be the next quarterback of the Buccaneers, and they're going to win a Super Bowl.
And I know that.
Documented.
Yeah.
So, and people thought I was nuts and crazy. But I did a lot of research on it, and I looked exactly where the options were for him to go. And I said, and I wasn't reporting I was saying this is my prediction.
This is your prediction. Okay.
So,
I'm getting goosebumps right now. Okay.
Because
all right.
you looked around the league and you looked at what's the best weapons, what's the best coaching situation. That was a huge part of it. The GM, Jason Light, had a previous relationship with Tom Brady at the Patriots. So everything really, really lined up. And I said, and people couldn't believe it because it was the Bucs. It was Mormon franchise, the worst franchise in sports from a win-loss perspective. Like, he would never go to the Bucs. But as Tom Brady thinks, none of that matters. The history of the organization doesn't matter.
I seriously have goosebumps all over.
Because you look at what they have on the table, who their coaching staff is, who the owners are. The Glazers were, they weren't great owners many, many years ago. And then when they were buying Manchester United, it's a whole different story. But they have given them every resource in the past 10 to 15 years to win. And so ownership, coaching, the team around you, it was a perfect situation for him. And so I went with it. And I think, because I knew Tom would look at it very much the same way. He doesn't have to look at a lot of things that other people would look at, like the history of the organization. That's completely irrelevant.
So
next?
Yes?
My gut feeling is the best fit is Russell Wilson.
So you're saying that on the record right here.
I think he will be the best fit. Now, there's so many things that have to happen for this to happen, but in a nutshell, Seattle needs draft picks. They have their roster is terrible, and they're playing in a very competitive division. So they got to get a ton of draft picks. They don't have any. They only have a first-round draft pick this year. and they have to completely rebuild. Holding on to Russell Wilson is you're just going to be mediocre, and he'll carry you maybe to 8 or 9 wins, but you're not going anywhere. So they need a bunch of draft picks to rebuild. The Bucs can give them that right now. They're not really high draft picks, but they can give them 2 1s and 2 2s, or 2 1s and 2 3s, whatever they work out to be, but 4 or 5 draft picks. And get Russell Wilson to come in. His salary is very doable right now. It's $19 million this year, $22 million next year. So he fits into the salary cap, whereas Aaron Rodgers would not. You can keep all of your free agents that you need to keep at that number with bringing in Russell Wilson. They would be motivated to stay, the Ryan Jensens, Chris Godwins, because it's Russell Wilson.
It's Russell Wilson.
And also, he has the same leadership qualities that Brady does. You know, he's authentic. He's a great man. He's a great Christian man. He's a super. Guys love him, and they love playing for him, and they love playing with him. So it's that same type of Brady mentality, that same type of gravitas that Brady brings. And he's a super accurate quarterback. He's a tremendous quarterback. He's 33 years old, much younger than Rodgers, who's 37, I mean 38. So it's a better fit, and I think the Bucs they have a roster now that you don't want to rebuild with. And, you know, Bruce Arians may be in his last year. Byron Leftwich, their OC, we thought was going to Jacksonville, is not. So maybe he becomes the head coach after Bruce, so Russell Wilson would know who the next head coach is going to be. It all seems to kind of come together for me.
Well, this is the perfect wrap of the show. I could talk to you for another hour.
But it might also be Garoppolo. That's not a bad fit. And the third person I would say that might come over, they might stay at house and go Kyle Trask and Blaine Gabbert. We'll see. But
all right, so we'll see. Well, we'll have to continue this discussion for sure after you go to the Super Bowl and come back. And as we close the show, I do want to say I am happy for Cincinnati and the Bengals because it's been more, you know, it's been 56 years, 57 years, right?
Yes.
And so I am very happy for them. JP Peterson, high five, dude.
That was so much fun.
Wasn't that so much fun? Let's definitely do it again, for sure. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. We really appreciate it.
At Precision, our mission is more than fixing broken garage doors.
I think it looks great.
And selling new ones.
It looks amazing.
We aim to help those in need and to honor and lift up those who are making a difference.
Thank you so much.
Through our outreach program called Opening Doors in Our Community. People like Steve Chamberlain, who is fitting kids with prosthetic legs.
The people I've met, the families, we've changed so many lives.
Or members of the military.
I'm the airman.
Oh boy, and I'm the Army.
Like Frank Elliott.
We're teamwork, right?
Exactly, yeah.
That's why we're here for you today.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
And of course, the people on the front lines during COVID, like Jessica, an ER nurse. At Precision, we want to thank everyday heroes for all you do. It was an honor to help you, and together, we are opening doors in our community.